For 217 years, Queen Erin Valehar had ruled the stellar dominion alone. And for 217 years, she had rejected every king in the galaxy. They came in fleets. They came in armor forged from collapsed stars. They came bearing planetary deeds, tribute vaults, genetic perfection reports, and military alliances. And she rejected them all. Some left insulted. Some left furious. A few left promising war. But none dared follow through. Because Erin Valehar did not merely command the most advanced armada in known space. She was the reason it existed. The stellar dominion stretched across 91 inhabited systems, its borders glowing like a silver crown along the spiral arm of the galaxy. At its heart floated the capital world, Elisar Prime, a planet of floating crystalline cities orbiting a luminous artificial sun. At the center of that world stood the throne of resonance, and upon it sat Erin, tall, composed, silver-eyed, unmatched. Her species, the Elisari, had long lifespans and neural capabilities that allowed them to interface directly with quantum command matrices. She could command fleets with thought alone. She could shut down warships by overriding their core frequencies. She was not merely a political figure. She was a strategic superweapon with a crown. Her advisors insisted she needed a consort. The Dominion's constitution required continuity, stability. But every suitor who entered her throne chamber failed the same test. They wanted her power. They wanted her empire. None wanted her. And Erin would not bind herself to ambition disguised as affection. So she waited for something she could not quite define. The Summit of Kings. The final summit had been extravagant. 7 rulers from 7 major star coalitions had gathered under truce banners. Their warships filled Elisar Prime's orbital lanes in a display of forced diplomacy. The Hall of Accord shimmered with diplomatic tension. King Ravax of the Vortari Collective, a towering reptilian warlord clad in molten gold armor, spoke first. Our empires together would be unstoppable, he declared. Join bloodlines, and we will dominate the outer sectors. I have no desire to dominate, Erin replied evenly. The Androsian Triarch offered genetic compatibility statistics with arrogant certainty. The machine-augmented Sovereign Keth proposed a logic-based merger of governance. One by one they spoke. One by one she declined. By the final rejection, the air felt charged. You will weaken your dominion, King Ravax warned coldly. I have preserved it alone for 2 centuries, Erin answered. It will not weaken now. The summit dissolved in cold civility. But tension lingered like static in space. Her advisors pressed her again that night. You risk isolation, Chancellor Vylar cautioned. Erin stood before the viewing window overlooking Elisar Prime's artificial sun. Isolation is preferable to compromise, she said quietly. Yet for the first time in decades, a flicker of uncertainty touched her. Middle Part 1. The Incident at Ardent Reach. The human vessel entered Dominion space 3 weeks later. Unannounced. Unarmed. Small. It should have been vaporized by automated border defenses. But it wasn't. Because the pilot transmitted something unusual. A distress beacon not for himself, but for a Dominion colony world under pirate siege. Erin reviewed the transmission personally. On her holoscreen appeared the face of a human male. Dark hair, tired eyes, grease-stained collar. My name is Captain Adrian Cole, he said calmly. You don't know me. I'm not asking for asylum, but pirates are raiding Ardent Reach. I intercepted their comms. They plan orbital bombardment within 6 hours. He paused. You'll want to stop that. No fear. No flattery. No demand. Just information. Erin narrowed her eyes. Dispatch the 3rd Fleet, she ordered. The pirates were annihilated within minutes of engagement. When Adrian Cole's ship docked at LSR Prime for debriefing, he expected interrogation. Instead, he was escorted directly to the throne chamber. He entered wearing a simple utility jacket. No ceremonial attire. No visible awe. He glanced around at towering crystalline pillars and whispered under his breath, "Well, this is intimidating." Aaron almost smiled. Almost. "You entered restricted space," she said from the throne.
"Yeah.
Sorry about that. You could have sold that information." "I could have." "Why didn't you?" He shrugged slightly. "Didn't feel right." Silence filled the chamber. Adrian looked at her directly, not arrogantly, but without subservience. "You're not what I expected," he added. "And what did you expect?" she asked coolly. "A tyrant." A murmur rippled through the advisors. Aaron's eyes sharpened. "And what do you see?" "A leader who's tired." The chamber went still. No one had spoken to her like that in decades. No one dared. "You presume much, human." "Probably," he admitted. "I'm good at that." Something unfamiliar stirred within her. Not attraction. Not yet. Curiosity. Middle part 2. The threat no one expected. 3 months later, war ignited. Not from one of the rejected kings, but from all of them. An alliance had formed in secret. If Aaron would not join them willingly, they would fracture her dominion and force submission. Combined fleets emerged along 3 border sectors simultaneously. Strategic precision. Brilliant coordination. The Stellar Dominion had never faced unified opposition before. And for the first time in centuries, Aaron felt pressure. She commanded fleets through neural interface, her mind weaving tactical maneuvers at inhuman speed. But numbers mattered. Even to a queen. Adrian was still on LSR Prime. He had remained as a consultant. Unofficial, unranked. He analyzed battle reports quietly. "You're defending everywhere," he said during one strategic session. "Yes." "You can't." Her advisors bristled. "You question Her Majesty's strategy?" Adrian ignored them. "You're reacting. They're coordinating. You need to break their trust in each other." Aaron considered this. "Explain." "They're allied because they think you're the biggest threat. Prove one of them wrong." Within days, she implemented a calculated maneuver, isolating the Androsian Triarchus supply chain while covertly leaking data suggesting Vortari betrayal. Suspicion fractured the alliance. Skirmishes broke out between former allies. The unified assault destabilized. Adrian watched fleet holograms shift in real time. "You play long games," he observed. "I must," she replied. He hesitated. "Why didn't you accept any of them?" Her gaze didn't leave the tactical display. "Because none would stand beside me. They would stand above me. And that matters?" "Yes." He studied her carefully. "You've never met someone who didn't want your throne." "Correct." He smiled faintly. "I don't." She finally looked at him fully. "And what do you want, human?" He thought about it. "Peace would be nice." That made her laugh softly. The first genuine laugh in over a century. Middle part 3. The Battle of LSR Prime. Despite fractures, the Allied kings made one final desperate push. They targeted the capital directly. Orbital shields flared under bombardment. Civilians evacuated into subterranean arcologies. The sky above LSR Prime burned with streaks of plasma. Aaron stood in the command nexus, neural links glowing along her temples. She fought like a living constellation. Ships moved before enemy fire could calculate trajectories. Weapon arrays synchronized with predictive algorithms fed directly by her mind. But the strain showed. LSRI biology was powerful, not infinite. Adrian watched her sway slightly. "You can't hold this forever," he said quietly. "I will," she replied through clenched teeth. Not alone. He made a decision. Unauthorized. He accessed civilian broadcast channels. Across every screen in the Dominion, his face appeared. This is Captain Adrian Cole. If you can fly, repair, coordinate, or calculate, report to local defense nodes. This isn't just the Queen's fight. It's yours. Citizens mobilized. Civilian craft formed auxiliary defense grids. Engineers rerouted power from non-essential sectors. Data scientists assisted predictive modeling. The Dominion stopped fighting as an empire. It fought as a people. Aaron felt the shift instantly. Neural load lightened. Patterns expanded beyond her singular mind. The final push broke against unified resistance. Enemy fleets retreated. The alliance collapsed completely. LSR Prime survived. Final part. The question she never expected. The war ended within weeks. The rejected kings sued for individual peace. Not because Aaron crushed them alone, but because she had shown something new. Strength without tyranny. Unity without coercion. In the quiet aftermath, she summoned Adrian to the Hall of Accord, the same hall where she had rejected every king. He entered casually. "Am I in trouble?" "Yes," she said softly. He froze. Then she stepped down from the dais. For the first time in recorded history, Queen Erin Valehar descended from the throne of resonance, without ceremony. "You defied protocol," she said.
"Yeah."
"You broadcasted unauthorized commands. Technically. You altered the structure of Dominion governance." He blinked. "Sorry?" She stood before him now, not above. "You showed me that ruling alone is not strength." Silence. "You reminded my people they are not subjects, but participants." He swallowed. Was that bad? Her silver eyes softened.
"No."
She hesitated. An unfamiliar vulnerability entered her voice. "For 2 centuries, I rejected kings because they sought power. You sought responsibility." Adrian shifted awkwardly. "I didn't mean to change your empire." "I know." A long pause. Then she said it. She rejected every king in the galaxy. Then a human appeared. He stared.
"Wait."
"That's not." She stepped closer. "I do not require a king," she said clearly. "I require a partner." The hall was empty. No advisors. No fleets.
"Just them."
"I will not surrender my throne," she continued. "Nor would I ask you to surrender yourself." Adrian exhaled slowly. "You're serious?" "Yes." He looked around the vast hall where emperors had once stood. "I'm not royal. I am aware. I don't kneel well. I would not ask you to. And if I say no, then you remain free," she answered immediately. "No coercion. No pressure.
Just choice."
He studied her, not as a legend, but as a woman who had carried an empire alone for centuries. "You know what I think," he said softly. "What?" "I think you don't need a king." Her lips curved slightly.
"No."
"You just needed someone who wasn't trying to become one." Silence stretched. Then he extended his hand. "Okay," he said. "Let's build something better." She took it. Ending. The queen who chose differently. Years later, historians would record that the age of solitary rule ended not in war, but in conversation. The stellar dominion transformed. Shared councils replaced rigid hierarchies. Civilian representation expanded. Military doctrine shifted from dominance to defense. Trade alliances flourished. And at the center of it all stood Queen Erin Valehar, no longer alone upon her throne. Beside her stood a human who had never asked for power. On the balcony overlooking LSR Prime's artificial sun, Erin leaned lightly against the railing. "You changed my empire," she said quietly. Adrian smiled faintly. "You changed it yourself." She considered that. For centuries, I believed strength meant standing above all others. And now, she looked at him. Now I understand it means standing with them. He grinned. Good, because I'm not cut out for kneeling. She laughed again, freely this time. Below them, children of dozens of species played in the floating gardens. Former enemy envoys negotiated trade routes peacefully. Warships guarded borders without expansionist ambition. And across the galaxy, rulers spoke of Elisar Prime not with fear,
but respect.
She had rejected every king in the galaxy because she did not need one. She needed someone who would see her not as a throne, but as a person. And when a human appeared, unexpected, unimpressed, uninterested in crowns, she chose differently. The galaxy would never be the same.